What horrifying discovery on their porch made me refuse their wedding? Not too long ago, I had an appointment with a couple who had expressed interest in hiring me to photograph their upcoming wedding. Usually, I try to keep these initial meetings professional and neutral. Meeting at a cafe or a quiet spot in town is standard practice. I can talk about packages and timelines over a cup of coffee, and we can all gauge if we're a good fit. But this couple insisted that I come to their home. At the time, I didn't think too much of it. Some clients feel more comfortable in their own space. Maybe they wanted to show me some family photos or discuss logistics for a backyard reception. Still, as I drove out to the address they gave me, I had a sense of uncertainty nibbling at the back of my mind. When I pulled up, my first greeting was unexpected. There on the porch, within arm's reach of the front door, was a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket stuffed full of dirty diapers. I lingered at the threshold, unsettled by the smell and the flies buzzing around the rim. I've been to all kinds of homes, from elegant mansions to cramped apartments, and I've learned not to judge anyone's personal style or living conditions. But this? It was hard not to feel a jolt of trepidation. I knocked and waited. A young boy, about 7 years old, cracked the door open and peered out, then let me in. The interior of the house was a chaos of noise and motion. Children seemed to be everywhere, running across the floor, chasing each other through rooms, their voices colliding into a steady roar. I tried to focus, to acclimate myself, but it was overwhelming. Instead of a peaceful setting where I could show my portfolio and listen to their wedding dreams, I found a swirl of domestic pandemonium. I stepped inside and took in the layout. The living room doubled as a bedroom, with a large unmade bed facing a blaring TV. The groom-to-be was sprawled out on it, eyes fixed on the screen. He didn't look up, didn't say hello, didn't do anything to acknowledge that a professional was standing a few feet away. Meanwhile, the bride-to-be stood in the kitchen, hips anchored by 2 toddlers who clung to her as if they were afraid to let go. She motioned me to the kitchen table, shouting over the din for her fiancé to join us. Reluctantly, I took a seat. I pulled out my notes, a sample contract, and some photographs of previous weddings I'd covered. The bride leaned over the table, trying to talk details, dates, number of guests, the overall feel of the ceremony, while simultaneously hushing the children and trying to catch her partner's attention. He never budged. He just sat there on the bed, absorbed in whatever show was on, flipping through channels as if I were invisible. It was obvious the bride was irritated. Eventually, she asked if I had noticed the bucket outside. I admitted that it was hard to miss. With a sigh, she explained, "He has so many kids with other women. We've run out of places to put all the dirty diapers. That bucket is where we keep them so they don't stink up the entire house." I was floored. I didn't know how to respond. Their wedding, which I assumed would be a happy day to celebrate their union, already sounded like a minefield of complications. The house's crowded rooms and the overwhelming smell, the groom's disinterest, and the bride's exasperation. It all felt like an omen. There wasn't going to be a tranquil planning process, let alone a serene wedding day. As the children screamed and the groom remained glued to the TV, I realized that no matter what photography package I offered, no matter how creative I tried to be, I would be stepping into a situation where my presence and my work wouldn't be valued or respected. I made an excuse, something polite and non-committal, and left. I never took that job. To be honest, I didn't even follow up with them afterward. I often think back on that strange encounter, wondering if they ever made it down the aisle. Did they hold a ceremony with perhaps a few dozen guests as children zigzagged through the pews? Did the groom ever tear his gaze away from the television long enough to say his vows? And what about that bucket, a symbol of the tangled family web he'd spun? Was it still sitting out there on the porch, collecting diapers and regret?